Hi there, my name is Gilbert Mizrahi and I am with the growth team at Twnel. And today I want to show you how to create a chatbot that can save data to a spreadsheet, to a Google spreadsheet, using Make, previously known as integromat. So let's see how that works. Let's first create a bot and I will explain the rest of the process as we go along. So here in the Twnel Connect interface, as you know, if you have explored this already, you have different options: the chat manager, metrics, the bot builder, and settings. So the first thing that I want to do is create a bot. So I go to the bot builder. Here I am in the bot builder, and I'm gonna create a new bot. So I click here in the plus to create a new one, and this is going to be named my favorite color. As you see in the spreadsheet, I want to save the phone of the user, the name, the favorite color, and the timestamp that I get at the time I'm saving the data. So that's why I call this like this. I mean, it doesn't matter really. It's just a simple example. So once I do this, it shows me the canvas here. As you see, I have only one block available right now. This is a send message with a flag in blue, meaning that this is the start of the flow. And let's call this welcome, the name of this block. And in here, basically, I want to say hi to the user, hi, and I use these brackets here in order to include variables. So let's go to the user, and I want to say hi to the name. So it will use the name of the user, the contact that is in the Twnel, that will use that. And I can say, I'm curious, what's your favorite color? That's it. Let's save this and close this. And because I want them to answer, I have to enable an input in this block. So here I go to the input type and I click in the edit button here, and I can select the input type. In this case, of course, I want them to type the text. Of course, I could have a list of options where I can have 4 colors or 6 or whatever. I can choose a radio in order to make a list. But in this case, I want the text. But as you can see here, the bot can capture images from the camera gallery or taken with the front of the back cameras. It can capture the location explicitly, email, password, checkbox is also a list, but in this case, it allows more than one answer, a date, a number. You can read barcodes or QR codes directly from the bot. And of course, you can add a signature. So as you see, this is the combination of these things could make very powerful applications, so, flows or automations. So I'm gonna select text, as I said, and for the placeholder, I will put enter color. Now that text that the user is entering, I want to save that to a variable. So in this first place where it says results mapping, I want to assign that result, meaning that text that I just captured, to a variable. So I will create a new variable called color, and I save this. Let me save this, and if I go back to this part, I can see here that I have variables, and now I can see that I have a variable, the type of string. This is typed automatically depending of the assignment that was made. And of course I can, the default value is empty. And of course I could delete these or add others from here, but of course it's easier to do that during the implicit mapping on the bot. So if I go back here, let's delete for a second this, and I will go and assign. It shows me that there is a variable called color that is of the same type that the information that I just captured, that is a string. Again, in this case, I'm gonna select color because that's what I want. Now, in order to do the next block, I have to right click, and I will see all the options that I have. So as you can see, even though this bot builder is super powerful, it's really quite minimalistic. So I have send message, call API, that is the service to retrieve data from external services or send data to external services. That's what we are going to use. Call function, this allows us to create JavaScript functions to process data inside the flow. Map result, this is an explicit mapping of values. As we saw when I assigned the result to color, this is an implicit map result, which is what normally you will use. This is for more complex scenarios. Conditional step is when you want to do things based on some conditions, based on the data you already have. A store file if you want to store something, and a comment is just to comment a comment block. Let's first create a comment block. So I can type here, this flow will allow saving some data to a Google Sheet. Okay, so I can have notes. Now let's continue here. I will call the API and I will connect this to the call API. And in here, I need to define what kind of API this is going to be connected to. I don't have that information yet, so let me click cancel here for the moment. I will save this. And after I do that, I want to create another message informing the user that everything is all right. So here, this will be the end of this flow. And the message will be, your data was saved. And maybe a happy face. But of course, I have to create another one just in case I have an error. So in here, let's call this on error. And for the message, I will say there was an error. And I connect this to here. And that's it. So this is the whole thing that we need for the bot in order to do that. So now we have to create a webhook. A webhook is like an API in order to send the data that we capture, in this case, the color, plus the data that we already have, the phone and the username, to the Google Sheet. So let me save this for the moment. And now if we go to make, I'm gonna create a new scenario. And make is an application that allows creating workflows, connect different applications, and do a lot of things. It's quite powerful. Other tools that are similar are Zapier, Workato, Trade, Public Connect, etc. There are many tools that do these kind of things. This is one of the ones that I prefer. So here I'm going to create a new scenario. And I have to click here in order to create a new node. So what I need is a webhook. So I type webhooks. And here we are. And there are here there are 3, but I want a custom webhook. Means that it will be triggered when the webhook receives data. And that's exactly what we want. So we will create a hook. And I will add this. I don't need any restrictions, so I will save this. And it gives me a URL. I copy this URL and let's test this in Postman. So if I type this in here, and in this case, I want to, since I'm gonna write something in a Google Sheet, I want to put this as a post. And let's have some data that we want to send. So I will send an object, a JSON object. And basically, I want to send 3 pieces of information. The phone of the user, as I said before, those are the variables that we have in the spreadsheet here. Phone name, favorite color, and timestamp. So the first 3 we are gonna get from the Twnel bot builder for this particular flow, and the last one we are gonna get it a timestamp directly from make. So here I'm gonna input a phone, and let's say that this phone is 617, it's in Massachusetts, but the phone is 5555555, like in the movies. And then the name, let's say that this test person is called Pepe Pinto for no reason. And the color is blue. Of course, this has to be like this. And I don't need to send the timestamp because I will generate that directly on Make. And if I try this and I send this, it's accepted. It means that this webhook has been created and is receiving data. If I go back to here, I said okay. And now I want to test this so I can have some data to do the rest. So I will say run once, and it shows that it's expecting something. So I go back to Postman and I run this again. And if I go back to Make, now I can see here in the data that it received the font, the name, and the color that we set up, that we sent from that webhook via integromat. So that's great. That's exactly what we wanted. So now we are going to connect another module, and in here we want to send this to a Google Sheet. So let's type Google Sheet, and we see that we have those options. As you can see, there are many options that I can do when I'm gonna work with Google Sheets. I can add a row, update a row, clear a row, delete it, get a cell, update a cell, add a sheet, create a new spreadsheet, and a lot of additional things. In this case, I want the first one. I want to add a row. So it allows me to select the spreadsheet and sheet. The first thing that it will add is your connection. But in this case, it asked me already that, but I can say add and I can look for a new connection. And here I can choose a different one. I'm gonna skip this because I already connected to the one that I wanted. So, and now select a spreadsheet and sheet. So in this case, I'm gonna select a spreadsheet. It can look at all the spreadsheets in my account at Twnel, but in this case, the one that I want is called demo save data in a Google Sheet. So I'm gonna type here demo save data in a Google Sheet. This is the one that I want. And the sheet, it has only one, sheet one, so I select that one. But if you are curious, if you're not sure where that come from, it's here at the bottom, you see here. So if you can add, of course, you can add more, and it will refer to the one that you need. But in this case, that's perfect. So I will continue there. And now, so that the table contains headers, I can say yes or no. In this case, yes. So it looked at the headers and it said, oh, yeah, you have one column. The column A is font, the column B is name, the column C is favorite color, and the column D is timestamp. And then you have more columns that don't have headers. So now if I click here for font, it shows me the values that I got from the webhook, and I can match each one to each one here. So I say, okay, the font goes to the font. For B, the names go here, and the favorite color, the color goes here, the data that I got from the color. That's fantastic. Now I want the timestamp, but the timestamp is not coming from here. But as you see here at the top of this box or this card or whatever you want to call that, there are a lot of other things available here. So let's look at each of them quickly. So here I have general functions. Basically, this is to make conditionals. So I could create conditionals here and produce a result based on that. I have also math functions. So I can do a calculation based on whatever values that I have. I can do binary and text functions, capitalize a text or look at the number of characters in a word or something like that. I have also data and time functions. This is the one that we are going to use in this case. And finally, there are functions for working with arrays. This could be very powerful as well. In this case, as I said, we need date and time, and I want the now value. That's it. And I said, okay, let's run this again once. So it's waiting for data. And let's go to Postman, and I send this again, and it says accepted. Now, if I go here, it seems that everything was good. And if I look here, it added the row. Okay, copy the style. Let me remove that style. I don't want that. Okay, So that's better. Good. If we see here, we received some accepted. That's not something that we would like normally. We want something more descriptive. In sometimes, if we are getting data not writing, we want to return what we are getting. So accepted will not work for us. So we need to add one more thing here. Let me move this a little bit, and we will add another connector. In this case, it's a webhook again, and it's intelligent enough to suggest that. So I want a webhook response, and it asks me for the body. Normally, the best practice here is to have a JSON object. So I will put a JSON object, and let's put message and inside the brackets here. And for the message, I will say your color was saved to a Google Sheet. And maybe we want to put the value of the color here. So we could add that value here if we want. I think we can put this here. Your color was saved to a Google Sheet. Let's do OK. And now let's run it again to see if this works. So it's expecting the data again. Let's send the data. And your color blue was saved to a Google Sheet. Let's do one more change here. Let's put this value with some asterisk before and after. The bot builder will put everything that is, every string that is inside asterisk, we'll put that as bold. So that will be nice. And let's run this again to see how it looks in here. And it looks fine. Of course, in here, it doesn't show anything different, just the asterisks. And now let's go back to the bot builder. So in the bot builder, we have to update the call API. So we go here, and in this case, this is a post. The URL, we got that before, so we can copy from here. Of course, we can copy also from here. So we have that here. And in this case, we are going to send an object via body, and it's a JSON object. And let's get rid of this, and I can copy this object from here. This object, and I will put that here. But everything is hard-coded. I want now to replace these values with variables. So I delete this value, and instead of that, I go to the variables part here, and I want the user name, no, the user phone, excuse me. Where is Pepe Pinto? I will delete Pepe Pinto and use the username. And where it says blue, I will delete that, and I will use the session variable that I just created before called color. And now I want to handle the response. So response is an object, but I need to put the whole schema for the object that I am receiving. And here I can see it's an object with a string called MSG. So I have to create that. So here I will include for this schema the properties. And for this I have MSG, which is of type string. Of course, I have to close this. Now that I have the schema that I want, the next thing that I want to do here is to change the message at the end. So it receives the message from that response of this call API. Let's call this call API, let's call this save to sheet. In here, I want to change this message, and instead of this, I can remove this, and I can include here the whole message. So I will look, but I have to pass that message. I have to map it in the previous thing. So let me close here first. And here in this one, I have to map schema properties to some variables. So it's similar to what I did with the color in the first send message block. So I click here, and it shows that it has a value from the result object. that is message. It saw that from the schema that I created, and I will create a new message called message. I have to save this, and okay, and now you see that it's mapped here. So if I go now to this part and I go and delete this, I can replace this with this variable message. So it will show your color blue was saved to a Google Sheet, your color, whatever color the person input was saved to a Google Sheet. And I'm missing this happy face, so let's have the happy face as well. Why not? So I can add that at the end. And that's it. Now let's save this. So the next step is to define the audience. That means the people that can see this bot and can use it. So for that, I will need to select a business unit. So if I go to see all the services that I have to go to settings. In this business unit, I want. So the way that this works is for each contact you assign tags, probably you know that already, and the tags define like rules of what they can do and what they will see and so on. And in the case of the business units are like an audience for the chatbots. So in this case, I want anyone that doesn't have any tags. In this case, the name of that audience or business unit is called bares and restaurants. Bars and restaurants, bares y restaurantes in Spanish. And I want to assign to them that. So that's the one I'm gonna select. So maybe you have bots that you create for drivers that are shipping products, or you have different bots for salespeople or for merchandising people or for, I don't know, technicians or whatever. You want to not to show all the bots to everyone, but filter them according to the roles. So with the tags, you can define that, and the combination of tags, you can define a business unit, because you can have a bot for drivers in Mexico and a different one that is slightly different because some conditions are different for drivers in the US, for instance. So I go to Superbots, and I created one called my favorite color before. But if I don't have one, I can click plus and put the name and define the business unit, the type of bot, and the spec. The spec is what we created already in the builder. In this case, since I have already my favorite color, I'm gonna edit this one. And it's already selected as a bot. There are two options, autoresponder and a bot. And the spec here is my favorite color, so I will put my favorite color. And the business unit is the one here. Normally you don't have anything, but you have bares and restaurants. I selected that one, and I save this, and I can go back to the bot builder now. And open it. And there is still one more thing that we need to do. We need to go to integromat, and before we can send the data from the bot, we need to save this. So let's save this, everything that we do, and activate this flow. So I have to put it on. So now each time that the webhook is called, it will do its thing. So now I don't have to wait for this to send data. Let's go from here. And if I send the request again from Postman, I can see that the row is added in the spreadsheet. Each time that I run this, it added one more row. Of course, all of them were hard-coded. Yeah, I can delete all of them. Now let's run this bot from my phone. So let me move my screen here, my phone screen, and I will go to work. And here I have the Twnel Messenger. I have two because one is the Twnel Web Messenger and the other is the Twnel Native Messenger. I will use this. I can use any one of them. And here I choose for the company is the Central Herencia, which is my test company. and I will look for the bot that I just created, my favorite color. Once I run this, it says, "Hi, Gilbert Mizrahi," that's my name, of course. "I'm curious, what's your favorite color?" And let's say that is green. Green. I don't know how to write, apparently. And you can see here, it wrote green right now. And it shows something, there was an error, even though it processed the data, something was wrong somewhere. So I have to look into that. So let's look at the builder. Let's go back here, and we have a console for errors. So let's look at the error. And there is some error with the schema. Let's see if there are more details here. And this is what we got. Okay. This is the data that we send. This is correct. And the response message, your color green was saved to a Google Sheet, but I'm missing the quote sign here at the end. So even though I saw this here, this seems to be fine, but of course I was missing that here. So I have to fix that. That's a silly mistake. So here I'm missing this. Okay, and I have to save it again. And now let's run the bot again. And this time, let's change the color that I'm gonna mention. My favorite color again, I run here. And let's say that now my favorite color is orange. And it worked fine. Now it says your color orange was saved to a Google Sheet, and you can see here it saved that here. So that's it. Pretty nice. Let me know if you have questions. Now it will be a good moment for you to try it out and create a bot similar to this and write some data using what you learned here. Yeah, doing is the best way to learn. Take care. Bye.